even things related to just centering yourself, just hand on heart,
Hmm.
uh, just doing that much for yourself, or putting your own feet on the ground, and feeling the earth below, beneath your ground, and
Hmm.
just sensing the uh, touch of your own clothes on your body. So what I mean to say is simple things related to your own body and your own being.
Hmm.
Just becoming more consciously aware of those things and trying to
Hmm.
connect with those
Hmm.
can prove to be very significant in helping you feel more connected.
Hi, my name is Naman, and this is the Crux podcast, where we talk to awesome people who build solutions and businesses for India. Today, our episode is going to be a little different. Today, we talk to Miss Megha Tulsian. She's a mental health expert, a therapist, and the founder of iReflect. We talk to her about the impact of COVID 19 on our mental health. What are the things that we can do to be healthier? It's a conversation filled with awesome anecdotes which will bring a smile on your face and make you think. After all, to build India, we need to build strong minds. I hope you like the conversation. And if you like the conversation, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Megha, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, Naman.
थैंक यू सो मच फॉर टेकिंग द टाइम आई नो हमने 3-4 बार रीशेड्यूल कर चुका हूँ मैं एंड आप यू बीन वेरी स्वीट कि आपने मेरी ये अनअवेलेबिलिटी फॉर स्टूपिड रीजंस को झेल लिया.
You were unwell in between, and I heard also something, but it was meant to happen today. So
हाँ,
let's
चलो
just looking forward.
great. तो ठीक है, let's just dive directly into it. And before I ask anything else, how has 2020 been for you?
um, yeah, so far so good, and very uncertain, like for everybody else. So yeah, trying to adapt, but have adapted to a lot of things. But it's teaching about so many things that I never thought of earlier. So it's making me see the world in a new way that I never saw earlier. So personally and just collectively, I think it does get a bit much sometimes. But overall, one day at a time, करके dealing well with it.
चलो ये आपने बिल्कुल सही बात बोली कि एक्चुअली it's making everybody see the world very differently, and let's just use that as a segue to dive right into it. Ki what have you been seeing, like, of course, as a therapist, as a psychologist, you've and you've also been seeing everybody's reading the news. So apart from the medical consequences or the pandemic that we are in, uh, this has also affected the mental health of a lot of people, like everybody, I think,
Right.
in
Yes.
different respects, about different things. One, from productivity to economic situations to just like staying in closed doors. Yeah, like this podcast is supposed to happen when we meet. We're supposed to sit across a sofa and talk about these
Like
things.
yes.
Zoom पे नहीं होना
Yes.
चाहिए ये सब. But
Yeah.
that's the world we live in. So what are the common trends that you're seeing, which is affecting the mental health of people during COVID?
I think to begin with, because there's been so much uncertainty on this, so much of a change all of a sudden, and itna zyada uncertainty ki we don't know when things like that the daily activities that people want to resume their everyday things, whether it's a regular commute or whether it's just going jo usme jo uncertainty hai in their everyday things as well as in the long term. How will the economic situation look like, and whether or not they're going to have their jobs, or if they're entrepreneurs, then how to sustain for that this period, um, or even for let's say moms who are at home for their for their own selves and for their kids as to how the school year is going to look like. So uncertainty in that sense across people in different sectors, और उस uncertainty की वजह से the anxiety that can build in as to fears related to how things are going to be in the short run as well as in the long run. That's definitely one of the things that I've been noticing. The other thing that I've also been noticing is something around grief. Grief ko hum normally we associate it in context of dying, but grief is actually associated with any form of loss. And we've all experienced a huge loss of normalcy at this point, but whatever we consider normal up until a certain point in time. So because of that, I think it's a lot of different emotions that come up when we are talking about grief. Grief, we say that there are stages in grief where there is denial, but from there we move on to either sadness or anger or just bargaining negotiation, where we are thinking of different scenarios कि अगर ऐसा नहीं होता और ऐसा हो जाता या फिर मैं ऐसा कर लूं तो कैसा रहेगा. So just going over different scenarios in our head to then acceptance. So going back and forth on these stages is also what is happening for a lot of people.
How do I know if I'm grieving
And
something?
it isn't.
How do I know?
So
what
I
are
said,
the symptoms?
If it's grieving happens in these, like it's in these stages, like I said. तो ये सारे इनमें से अगर if you notice that there is a combination of sadness, anger, then that bargaining, negotiation I spoke of, or even denial sometimes, and also acceptance. You notice that there's that combination going on. It perhaps could be grieving. Simple ways that you could actually acknowledge or maybe just check in with yourself that am I feeling like a sense of loss about something? And genuinely, when we ask ourselves that question, the answer does come up. So you will know if you genuinely, honestly try asking yourself if you're feeling a sense of loss over something and if you could be grieving. So, yeah.
Okay, let's get back to anxiety then. And I think we were discussing this before we started recording the podcast, right? And it just generally goes to my ignorance that anxiety is a term that is used a lot. Like, I think it's a good thing that the taboo around such terms is opening up, but at least personally, I feel I do not understand it completely. So I feel anxious, but I don't know if it's a feeling or if it's a situation or a condition that I need help for, and
right.
so how does one understand? And you talked about checking in with yourself. So I check in with myself,
Yes.
but because lack of knowledge है तो मेरे को पता ही नहीं है कि what is this? Am I just feeling anxious today, or do I need to go meet somebody, talk to somebody, go seek help?
अगर कभी भी ऐसा लगे कि इट्स गेटिंग ओवरवेलमिंग फॉर यू, कभी भी ऐसा लगे कि ये कंटिन्यूड थोड़े टाइम तक चल रहा है एंड ऑफ एंड ऑन होते जा रहा है, सो और दिस फीलिंग इज कमिंग अप ऑफ एंड ऑन अगेन एंड अगेन, one would rather kind of check in with a mental health professional and speak about it and seek the support than trying to think that I have to deal with all my feelings by myself.
There is also some kind of taboo on the subject, and then we feel कि this is something, and it's also associated with strength versus weakness. मतलब कि अगर मैं अपने mental health related चीजें या feelings खुद से अगर deal कर रही हूँ तो मतलब I'm strong, और अगर if I have to seek support for it तो मतलब some kind of I don't have enough strength. So because and that's not true by any means, but because वैसा एक perception है हमारा in general, तो क्या होता है कि most people want to wait until they reach a certain brink to be able to actually seek support when it comes to anxiety or anything to do with mental health. But the whole idea is that agar at any point if you're feeling ki anxiety feel ho rahi hai at any level, so why not seek some support and get some tools around how to cope with it better, or how to heal on it, or how to deal with it better. So therefore, more than defining a certain point, I would definitely say that waiting to reach the brink is not the best thing to do. And it may always be a good idea to actually seek some support, as even if you're feeling that some level of overwhelm is there, or some level of this thing, something to do with mental health, I'm not sure what's going on. So some kind of support and tools will definitely help.
We live in a much more disconnected world right now. Like, we're all in our homes. Dhire dhire we're
Yeah,
opening up, but
yeah,
you're still not hanging out. Those
yes,
things we used to do to just connect with people. It's, I think,
absolutely,
transactionally
absolutely.
we've started
हाँ,
moving out for work.
हमारे yes, yes, but our connection, that's another thing जो जहाँ पे एक टोल हो रहा है मैसिवली, जिसका लॉन्ग रन में हमें ज्यादा रियलाइज होगा, बट अभी भी है about the whole thing to do with our social connection and our sense of touch, like how we would hug people and friends, and just that sense of touch is one of our most primitive senses, which helps us, touch से oxytocin hormone release होता है, it just makes us feel more regulated and centered. वो missing हो रहा है, and the social connection bit, where which would actually be a very regulating thing for a lot of people. कि अगर if you're stressed, or if your thode anxiety levels higher, but those would be the things that will help you come back to a more let's say centered state. But वो चीजें अभी available नहीं है हमारे लिए, तो इसलिए uh, there's a it just gets more difficult on a day-to-day basis. Even things related to just centering yourself, just hand on heart, uh, just doing that much for yourself, or putting your own feet on the ground, and feeling the earth below, beneath your ground, and just sensing the uh, touch of your own clothes on your body. So what I mean to say is simple things related to your own body and your own being. Just becoming more consciously aware of those things and trying to connect with those can prove to be very significant in helping you feel more connected.
True. And I think you said it right, that there was somebody who told me that the whole industry of self-help or meditation, or the whole thought is, all of that is just to be able to live in the present. It's such a simple
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
or thought, but
yeah.
it's not easy at all. It's simple.
But when it's not, yes. But it's something that we can really learn from children, is what I was particularly pointing at over here.
No, I love that thought. And now, moving from children to the category that I feel is the most affected, I'm one of them, is people who are working, and it's the work life imbalance. Just, the routine of going to an office, the routine of you know making money, the routine of productivity, that has been disrupted, which,
Yeah.
according to me, has created some issues. And there's also this other thing where, you just feel this need to be productive, upskill karna chahiye, because, pandemic mein aapko time mila hai. And there's this whole thing where I'm just reading ki boss, everybody is doing something, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything. So how should, again, working people think about this? What are the kind of issues that they are facing? And is it true that maybe upskilling is the best way, or is it, take some time, do whatever it is that you want to do? What is the way to think about this?
Yeah, I understand that this bit, and the whole race around productivity and our thought around it is also taking a it is taking a toll on our mental health. तो मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि प्रोडक्टिविटी को हम बहुत यूनिडायमेंशनल वे में देखते हैं. We're looking at productivity and upskilling, like you were saying, in a very just like in a quantitative fashion, linear quantitative fashion, कि ये 5 था तो अब 6 हो गया, अब 7 हो गया, अब 8 हो गया, like that kind of a scale. When it comes to human beings and our functioning and our productivity, we're not that linear or unidimensional. So, a lot of times it could be other things, जैसे कि अगर मैं examples दूँ तो there can be things related to like just gestation period where you're waiting, where there is ऐसे कुछ एकदम से result नहीं आ रहा है, but there is gestation, and there are times and spaces where you conceive, like when you conceive ideas. That's not about productivity as such, but conception and formation of ideas actually happens in spaces where you're actually letting the brain be. मतलब in times of rest is when the brain forms the synaptic connections जहाँ से ideas emerge होते हैं या create होते हैं. So if you're looking at building creativity, then that rest is a form of productivity. So, so instead of looking, if we can allow ourselves to, shift from a unidimensional to a multidimensional kind of view on this, कि productivity is not just about कि मैंने एक ये एक्स्ट्रा म्यूजिक का लेसन सीख लिया इस बार, या अभी स्पेनिश सीख लिया, या if I did 20 courses on this from this particular website. It's not really just about that, or that in my work, if I was working 8 hours, then I did 10 hours now, or increase the numbers from X to Y. But it's so much more. It's so much of also allowing ourselves again to be, because the unidimensional sense leads to a lot of burden. Because like you were earlier saying in your question, what you were saying is कि what you were asking कि अगर नहीं किया तो ऐसा लगता है कि मुझ में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, बाकी तो सब लोग कर रहे हैं. And that बाकी तो सब लोग कर रहे हैं is our sense from usually from social media, because on social media most of us are projecting the best versions of ourselves in some way. तो वहां से ऐसे लगता है कि अच्छा ये सारे लोग तो इनकी स्नैपशॉट्स देख के लाइफ की हम उनकी पूरी लाइफ सोचते कि एवरीथिंग इज फाइन विद देम एंड देयर समथिंग रॉन्ग विद मी ओनली. सो that whole idea is just it could be burdensome and very very guilt inducing as well. Right, where but in fact a lot of times if one is actually not being able to, let's say in that sense, in the very unidimensional sense, being productive or delaying things, and a lot of times it's also that your body, your entire being is actually asking for rest. It also could mean that you are exhausted. It also could mean that there are other things that you need to look into first and allow yourself that pause first before you can actually or allow yourself the recharging first before you can restart those kind of things again.
I think the problem is that there's a lack of consciousness of what state one is in also. I just don't, I feel sometimes that I don't even know. Am I exhausted, or do I need to work more? Am I being escapist? And these are a lot of questions which you don't, and that's probably where you need to sort of check in with yourself and with check in with for professional help. And that's where
absolutely
and that's where
and check in with yourself also probably a lot more gently, that it's we're not used to at least most people are not used to checking with themselves in a gentle fashion. It's almost like are kaam kaise nahi kiya, are you're lazy. Like we're so used to calling ourselves lazy is one word that I think almost everybody uses for their own selves. Not trying to check in with ourselves that why is it that I may be trying to delay things. Maybe I'm scared of something. Maybe there is something that looks too overwhelming or too big to me, but we're not ready to look at all of those things. But क्योंकि कोई external criteria या standard set है, इसलिए that's the only way to go, it seems like.
I know, and this friend of mine says that I treat myself like a 10-year-old being governed by a strict teacher. That's how
we're so used to that We also call it the critical parent state. And we're
अच्छा.
so used to being in that for some reason. So many of us कि जहाँ पे मतलब हमें सिर्फ खुद को एक स्टिक के साथ ही ट्रीट करना है. So many times, and that doesn't help with anything. It doesn't help in performing better in any way. It doesn't really. But we've made that belief, like we made that connection somehow that no, this is what is going to help me do more things, which is not true. You'll do more things because you inherently want to do more things.
True. And I guess I think the knowledge and the appreciation of these things takes time, takes somebody else telling you. And that's where I think an initiative like I Reflect really helps. So if you could just talk about what I Reflect does, what you're trying to do, and especially about the counseling bit, as well as what you're doing on social media, because I find that fascinating. At least I don't know of anybody else who's doing it as well as you are. Because on Instagram, you're generally seeing these are the cool things people are doing, and then I see your post, which tells me to sort of chill. So I feel better about myself. So could you talk about I Reflect Counseling and your work, please?
Yeah. Thank you. So yes, I Reflect is a counseling and psychotherapy center and a mental health initiative. And I started it about 2 years ago now. Mainly, so one part of the work is just it's counseling and psychotherapy. So anyone who requires any kind of mental health related help at an individual level or for relationships, families, parents, children. So that is one important aspect of the work that we do. The social media awareness, spreading awareness through social media was the other part of the initiative, and that I also find it very like one of the things that I have been wanting to do for a long period of time now, because awareness related to mental health is something that just has been missing. And if we talk in the Indian context, तो और भी ज़्यादा difficult है in terms of people being aware about anything to do with mental health. And then so I thought that if there can be small ways or little art, like blogs and just like small posts which people can go through and which are reminders of actually some of the things that we're talking about right now, like just being gentle with yourself, or not looking at productivity unidimensionally, and allowing yourself to centering yourself through your body, ways to do it. If I could give these small tools and reminders to people through social media for what they could do with respect to their mental health, and just for awareness as well, that it's something that can be talked about on an everyday basis, like our dinner table conversations, and not something that is something that has to be something really heavy or such a taboo that it is spoken about very specifically only in highly confidential therapy rooms in a specific setting. So just really want to make it more and more everyday conversation, like something that families and friends feel at ease to talk about with each other. If someone is facing a problem, then they feel that it's okay to talk about and open up about it. Of course, it's safe spaces with people that they feel that they can trust. And also these topics related to mental health not being something that cannot be discussed.
How do I engage, or how does anybody engage with social media? Because there is a lot of like it's very toxic, but it also has value. It helps me connect with the people that I know, care about, understand. Like it's just so amazing that I'm able to just see what, from afar, what a lot of people I know are doing in life just from updates. So that's amazing. I want to hold on to that. But I also do not want to indulge in the toxicity, but it seems like you can't do one without the other. So how do I engage? Like, what does one do?
So because it has like an addictive mechanism inherently built in it, what happens with social media is that our pleasure hormone dopamine, every time you see like a like or something uh, pleasurable in that sense, just gives you that hit of that dopamine. And the algorithms, everything on social media is built in such a way that we all feel like keep going back to it again and again and again. So to deal with it, some of the basic things like limiting your usage is it's basic, and but yet we are unable to do it, most of us, because it has that addictive capacity that it has. Yeah. So because it has the so therefore limiting usage, and at least limiting usage before going to sleep and right after waking up, those two times can be extremely important. And I know it's extremely hard for most of us again. And the other thing related to boundaries could also be becoming more aware of what is triggering for you on social media, becoming more aware of what uh, is what is actually information and nice for you and what is interesting for you versus what actually makes you feel worse, what makes you feel what could perhaps be making you feel more and more anxious, or be triggering for you in other ways, and actually not following those things, even if that means the news. You could take your news update from a friend or somebody over a 5-10 minute period every day. If it's the news, or if it's other things on social media, then that. So becoming aware of what is triggering for you and what causes you to like feel more of that toxicity and more negative than actually feeling, getting the information and feeling good about it. I think that awareness can help you create boundaries relating to following and unfollowing certain people or apps or websites.
That happened with me a lot. In fact, I used to joke with my friends that I have researched so much on coronavirus, but don't know anything and just feel anxious because of it. Like that was the first month of the lockdown for me.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
I was reading
yeah,
late into the
absolutely.
night every little
Yes,
piece of esoteric research that
yeah,
would come out, and I
yeah,
could not do anything about it. Like it's not like I was
yeah,
developing the vaccine or I could contribute in any way,
yeah,
but I was reading
yeah.
all sorts of news and it would just give me anxiety. You're also concerned
Yes,
about your family. I live in a joint
yeah,
family setup, so I was very concerned about how my grandparents would be affected,
yeah,
etc.
yeah,
So
yeah.
then I tried to sort of make that conscious effort ki boss, let me just stop reading about this because I can't do anything about it. So maybe also stopping information overload could be a thing, or maybe
Right.
just
Yes,
hmm,
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So boundaries in your own way, how you can uh,
hmm.
time time related as well as the kind of information that you would be receiving depending on what you follow.
But that's the problem now. I think you talked about. I think the solution that you just talked about requires a lot of self-awareness. The fact it is addictive, but
Mm.
the problem with addictive things is that even if you know that they're addictive, you can't stop them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You mentioned that maybe रात को नहीं करना चाहिए इतना.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
and रात को ही मैं सब like I know रात को ही मेरे सबसे सारे friends होते हैं, रात
Most
को ही मैं
people.
होता हूँ.
Yes,
But why did
yes.
you say night? Why am I not supposed to like? How
Uh,
does it change?
Before going off to sleep is what I meant,
Hmm.
because sleep, our brain needs to get the message that it can rest. Mm, it's time for kind of rest and sleep. Social media usage would involve audio, video. I mean, so stimulation at different levels for the brain and the body through various sense organs, and
Hmm.
that much stimulation. Uh, with that much stimulation, the message to our entire nervous system is कि अभी बहुत alert रहना है, awake रहना है.
Hmm. Oh, that explains my
So,
insomnia.
hmm,
That literally explains it. Okay. Because that is what I'm doing. That's the bad cycle I'm at. I am on social
in,
media before I go to sleep, and then I'm not able to sleep. So therefore, I'm on social media
yeah,
even more.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. It is a vicious cycle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's not make this a therapy session for me. That will be some other conversation. Moving to
No,
the
yeah, yeah. For most of us, I think it's a vicious cycle.
uh,
Yeah.
but okay, so moving to the more, so this is, we generally on this podcast we talk about the business aspect of things. So
Right.
just wanted to understand that as well. First, just
Yeah.
what we
Yeah.
generally talk about, the industry. The industry in this
Yes.
case would be therapy, I'm guessing,
Mental health. Yeah.
mental health.
Yeah.
So how has that changed? Have you seen this industry grow? And I think that would probably
Yes.
be the attitude of people changing.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
where
It
have we
has.
come, and where do we need to go still? What has to
Yes.
change for it to get better?
Yeah. Of course, we have a long way to go when we consider the mental health industry, but uh, there has been change in the last few years from what I have seen in terms of more openness and awareness that you know I think even until about 5 years back, at least in India, it would be hard for people even to think about or talk about mental health in any form.
Hmm.
And now I'm seeing there is a shift there. People who are in their, let's say, 20s, particularly, and even in their 30s, but
Hmm.
more so those who are now in their 20s, are uh, a lot of youth from there, like men and women, are more open to talking about mental health at least. And I'll give you a simple example. Until a few years ago, all our referrals for therapy
Hmm.
would come either from like other therapists, like other or psychiatrists, like other professionals, or through sources of internet.
Hmm.
Like people would search and find out. And now I've been noticing, I think in the last 2 years at least, that a lot of referrals are from people who are already in therapy or have been in therapy. So people telling other people
Hmm.
about their own experience perhaps and sharing it, and so other people also feeling that okay, they could uh, not feeling isolated in that sense, and other people feeling more that अच्छा इस बारे में बात की जा सकती है. So
Hmm.
that difference in itself has been quite amazing to see
Hmm.
कि लोग इस तरह से इसके बारे about mental health and therapy अब खुद के बारे में भी बात करने के लिए open हो रहे हैं.
Hmm.
So yes, so that's definitely there.
But what needs
But
to
having
change?
said that, it's still a huge taboo. Like I said in
Hmm.
the beginning, that strength versus weakness. Whenever it comes to mental health, everything becomes about uh, weakness. Like
Hmm.
if you're not being able to deal with anything to do with mental health, so that definitely needs to change. Mm, a long way to go in terms of the taboo
Hmm.
not being there. And then I think what also needs a major shift is looking at mental health from a perspective of growth. Looking at mental health not as कि अच्छा कोई problem है तो मुझे उससे सिर्फ deal करना है, but also from a perspective of it's important for my for my fitness, wellness, and growth in that sense.
Hmm.
To be able to be aware of my own emotions, my own being, my own body sensations, where I am,
Hmm.
in how I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, in a at a particular time or in a particular phase of my life.
Hmm.
So that is something that also is something that through I reflect, I intend to in particular areas.
Hmm.
I really hope and aim that we can build ways to kind of make this things to do with mental health more wellness related, more something that is, and it is meant for everyone. Mental health is for everybody.
Hmm.
So just for us to be able to realize that and look at it from that perspective rather than from a weakness illness kind of perspective only. I think that's where we need to go.
I think that's a very interesting thought because, again, from what I feel, I think of things and how I know my peers think. We generally think of it as trying to get cured of something, not as one would go to a gym.
Right. Yeah.
I think more than going to a doctor, one should think of it as going to the gym. That nobody is perfect, so you should try and get better, and maybe that's the growth aspect that we should look at. So is it that everybody should have, it's like a dentist, that everybody should have a therapist?
Well, I hope we can reach that place one day. And it's not. So the whole idea is that you have a person or a relationship there who can be that mirror and that support when you want to reflect on yourself. When you want to. In fact, I thought of the name I Reflect also came from there, and that space where I thought of it as that when I want to reflect on myself, I have somebody there to as a person, like as a new person. If I want to reflect on myself, then there is somebody who can help me with that reflection. And also, if I look at it from the other way, for I Reflect particularly, then I and my team are there to help people reflect on where they are at this point in their journeys, and to also help them see where they could go from here.
That makes me think about meditation. I think somebody said that meditation is just like self therapy. You're just talking to yourself and working through your problems. Is there a connection, or am I just seeing one? Is it true that
there is there certainly is. I think we are also largely realizing how different fields and how different ways or schools of thought also are emerging as merging towards a certain point, and so it is similar, although just with psychotherapy particularly, there's another person who's there to reflect back those thoughts and those emotions and different aspects of you to you, than you having to do it all by yourself. Hey, Kabir is back here.
Hello. Okay, so one more question and then rapid fire करके हम कबीर को तंग नहीं करेंगे.
Just 1 second. Just comes in between sessions.
And which is good, na? That he feels
it's okay. I mean, I can either be looking at it as disruption all the time, or I can be looking at it as acceptance of this is the situation right now.
Correct. मेरे को पता है, I don't know, I don't think I'll include this in podcast, but when I was doing like calls in the beginning for my office and all, somebody would come, the maid would come,
right.
My sister would just be on the phone walking around here, and I would feel like ashamed, anxious, or like, oh, disruption ho gaya of a meeting, and then I realized, boss, this is not a conference room, this is a house. तो आएंगे लोग.
Absolutely.
उनका घर है.
Exactly, and it's the same. In fact, if you want to put this for Kabir also, my whole like the whole endeavor, even through I Reflect and through therapy for me, is to tell people to be accepting of themselves and their situations and not be ashamed of their realities. And Kabir coming in sometimes, even when I'm working, it's a journey for me to not be looking at it as disruption of any kind, and rather just looking at it as acceptance of my reality. And his coming in often makes the whole the energy a lot more positive as well. It's just really nice.
And we've brought our offices home. He was already, it is his home. So we are at fault, not him, actually. One thing I've missed out on talking to you about, and I think it again goes to the business aspect as well and the whole counseling aspect, and which is again something which is very personal to me, is I don't think I'm able to trust a therapist. And this is something which must be something that you also think about, right? That whenever somebody comes in as a therapist, I need to be able to establish that trust. So how do you build trust between a therapist and uh, a patient or a client, and
Yeah.
does that have some learnings for how you build trust also in life?
Yeah. Yes, trust in fact is one of the pillars of therapy or of any relationship.
Hmm.
And so, from a therapy perspective, also, you know, when meeting a person, even for the first time, when a client comes in, it's every time it's the start of a relationship. And
Hmm.
I look at it from a perspective of uh, that this is building a relationship, and so I just look at the person, and I know that this person has come with a lot of must have given it a lot of thought before just even entering uh, the therapy room, and just keeping that perspective and empathy alive, that uh, just wanting to know the person, just wanting to know them and hear them out, uh, with a very, like, just genuinely just wanting to know them, I think, to begin with,
Hmm.
and where they are at this point in time in their lives. I think that's where I begin
Hmm.
when it comes to therapy, and I think that's the basis of trust when it comes to a therapeutic relationship, but also when it comes to any other relationship in our life, to just wanting to know where a certain person is at that point in time in their lives, and just genuinely wanting to hear them out.
Hmm.
Uh, just helps build that trust to begin with. And of course, then there are so many things to be worked through later on. But to begin with, I think that's key.
Yes, I think just respect and empathy for who the other
Mm.
person is, probably true.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
don't think you would have had to think about it. I think uh, building trust for you must be so easy. This conversation makes me want to tell you everything. Uh, Okay, I will,
Thank
on
you.
that note, move to rapid fire questions and then let Kabir be, because I think I'm taking his mother away from him on an off day. So let me not do
Uh,
that anymore.
yeah,
Rapid
I
fire
think he is
questions.
very keen on talking to you as well.
Oh, we'll do
But
that. We'll definitely do that.
yeah,
Describe yourself, 3 words.
yeah, you're asking a therapist. This therapist don't like talking about themselves.
But it is
I
my
can describe.
podcast.
I can talk about. Yeah, so I'd say a lot of empathy, and I can be very patient, and I find it hard to talk about myself. Does that qualify as
No,
the third thing?
no, but I can say it. I can say warm.
Okay.
Huh. Favorite hobby.
Um, well, I like reading, but when
Hmm.
you say favorite hobby, what occurs to me is just connecting with people,
Hmm.
and just warm and just connection in terms
Hmm.
of, it could be a conversation, it could be over coffee, or it
Hmm.
could be the online
Hmm.
or on the phone. But just connecting is something that I really love. Um,
Hmm.
the specific hobby bolna hai, to let's say reading,
Hmm.
but connection is what I really love.
I think that speaks for it. Yeah. Favorite book, since you like reading.
Yeah. Actually, there's so many that I've learned from over a period of time. But there's a book called The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. It's an old book, uh, but it's something that I really that's one book. I think that must be one of the books that I've one of the very few books that I've read twice or thrice over. So yeah,
Hmm. Why? Why do you like it so much?
I think every time I read it, it feels like I haven't read it before.
Hmm.
There's something more to learn from it and to
Hmm.
just pick from it. And I've not been, obviously, when I read it, also, there was a huge gap, but it almost feels like it's teaching you something every time, you know, you read it. In fact, just मेरे पास अभी गई थी 2 दिन पहले ही वो मेरे ऑफिस में पड़ी थी मैंने ऑफिस से मंगवाई है to so that I can look at it again. Yeah, it's talk it mainly is around spiritual psychological growth. So it's beautiful.
Okay. Favorite personality?
पता नहीं मेरा शायद cliched आंसर होगा बट मुझे ऐसा लगता है there's something or the other to be picked from like to be learned from every person. तो मुझे ऐसा कोई specific the work that in my field and in the social sector, the work that Brené Brown does and the way she conducts herself, I find it like the books that she has written, the videos, her TED Talk, her Netflix documentary, all of it, I think I just absolutely love it.
What's the Netflix documentary on?
It's on her name, Brené Brown. I think it's called The Call to Courage. Yeah,
okay.
Called The Call to Courage. It's about a lot of her work has been around vulnerability, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable, and talking about shame and how shame is such an it engulfs us and what we can do around it to actually be courageous, which is actually allowing ourselves to be vulnerable rather than thinking the opposite of it.
Got it. You give a lot of advice, but what is the best advice you got?
That slow is fast.
Arey, beautiful. Who gave you that advice?
Slow. One of my mentors, trainers.
Okay. Yeah. Slow is fast. That's nice. That's something to think about.
It's her favorite thing to say, actually. So, yeah.
Worst advice?
Worst advice? Be strong.
Okay, why is that worst? ये तो हम सबको बोलते ही रहते हैं ऐसे ही दिन में 5 बार बोल देते हो किसी को.
Exactly. या फिर calm down.
हाँ.
Because मुझे भी पता है calm down, मुझे भी पता है be strong. तो इसमें advice का कोई sense नहीं. It's almost like saying don't be what you are right now. So it's almost like saying कि अरे मुझे तो शायद आता नहीं है strong होना या मेरे में कुछ problem है inherently. I mean, of course, it's said with good intent whenever somebody is saying it, but it never lands at the right place.
So, what should one say instead? क्योंकि मैं भी बहुत बोलता हूँ be strong. So what should one say instead?
That it's probably tough right now, but you'll get there.
Okay.
So yeah, because be strong or rather just calm down is more like मतलब you are not being able to deal with things. Or the way you're dealing with things is there's something absolutely wrong with it.
Victim को culprit बना देते हो आप.
जबकि शायद हम victim भी नहीं है, culprit भी नहीं है, हम deal कर रहे हैं अपने वे में धीरे-धीरे.
Fair enough. Okay. Most important moment during your career as a counselor, a therapist till now?
You're talking about one.
हाँ, अब one ही है. That's the nature of rapid fire questions. अब rapid तो कर नहीं रहे इनको, but हाँ.
Yeah. Every time I think there has been a new trainer or a new. अभी मेरी best advice is slow is fast थी तो मैं rapid तो नहीं कर पाऊँगी. But
fair.
There are so many junctures. It's just
one that just comes to mind doesn't mean has to be the most important. One that's coming to mind right now.
I think also maybe motherhood.
Okay.
Was also a very important juncture, which made me a lot more, assertive about what I would want, because I had to protect not just myself, but instinctually also another being. So that was, and it coincided with a lot of things important things in my life, my submission of my PhD thesis, and a very significant training that I a kind of therapy that I practice is called ISP, Integral Somatic Psychology, which is a combination of body and the mind. It's one of the body-oriented psychotherapies, drawing from Eastern psychology as well as Western psychology. So understanding the chakras as well as understanding different emotions and kind of knowing where those emotions could be stuck in the body. So that training also happened right when motherhood set in. So there was a whole, I think, period that time, about 5 to 6 years ago, I would say, where a lot of things were culminating into me, knowing and growing a lot at that point in time.
Motherhood, that's such an amazing thing to say, because people generally, one would talk about a milestone, a client, or some other career milestone, and I think what happens to us as a person has a lot to do with how that sort of interacts with our career as well. So I think that's a very interesting thing, and I think it's also a good point to sort of close off this podcast. So thank you so much for joining, and अब हम offline होके कबीर से बतियाएंगे. So thank you.
Naman.